So you've got your mirrorless camera, but you're unsure of what accessories are worth buying if you want to improve the quality of your video and photography. Luckily, there's a lot of low budget accessories which will help build out your gear, improve your workflow, and are good for things ranging from camera maintenance, storage, and improving the quality of your video and photography. In this video, we'll look at a few different accessories that I've been using for a long time, and they're all things that I've bought with my own money, so it's not sponsored or anything like that, that I've found really useful, and they're all pretty low cost accessories. I don't think any of them cost more than around $30, £30, something like that. These accessories are perfect for both beginner and experienced users who are looking for low-cost accessories, and for me personally, they've all helped improve my workflow. Everything I talk about today, I'll leave Amazon links for in the description. But before we get started, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I make lots of tips and tricks videos for Sony mirrorless cameras. If that sounds like your sort of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like on the video. So first up is a Manfrotto mini tripod that looks something a bit like this. So as you can see, that is a pretty small tripod compared to a tripod, 60-inch tripod, for example, that I'm using to record this video now, that is on a stand and is big and bulky and useful for a lot of types of photography, but sometimes you just need something a bit smaller like this. I find it perfect for things like vlogs, or if you're using your camera as a webcam, something like that, somewhere where you can basically going to be set up the camera on a table, or somewhere where you're not going to need a full-length tripod from the floor. What's great about this type of tripod is just how small it is, so you can just chuck it in a backpack or small carry bag or your pocket or something like that, and it gives you extra stability for when you're taking your shots. It means that you're not relying on your hand being stable enough for certain types of shots, and is just something that you can set up in the corner of a room on a desk, for example, and leave it there all the time, which you might not want to do with a full-size tripod. So it's a pretty simple tripod, but it does have a moving ball head mount, which I think you can see there. You just press this button down, which means that you can rearrange exactly how the camera is going to be positioned. Now this is really handy because, to be honest, the rest of the tripod is very static. You've pretty much got one position it can sit in. But that moving ball joint means that you have flexibility of camera angles, which you can't get from the rest of it. And the rest of it being as stable as it is means that it's a sturdy option to keep your camera still. I now have used mini tripods such as the Joby GorillaPod before, which has flexible legs, but to be honest, after a few months of use, I found that those legs kind of stopped being able to carry the weight of the camera, to the point now where it's barely usable. Whereas this one I've been using for a few months, and because it is just so well built and sturdy, I think it's made from metal, and yeah, it's not the lightest in the world, but it's not too heavy either, but it just feels a lot sturdier. The ball joint is still really sturdy, as you can see. It doesn't move at all, even though I've been using it for quite a long time now, and I use it with usually the A6000 or the A5100 with a larger lens, such as the Sony 18-105, which is a heavier lens, but is sturdy enough to hold that up and isn't starting to loosen at all. Now this tripod does cost around £20, $20, so it isn't the cheapest option that you can get, but as I've found the build quality is pretty high, then I would definitely recommend this if this is the type of tripod that you're looking for. So next up, I'm going to talk about the Softbox Light that I use. Lighting makes a huge difference to your videos and photography, especially if you're shooting indoors. Being able to add an extra source of light is perfect if you are in conditions where the natural light is quite low, which it is for quite a lot of the time for me, or your indoor lights will look too artificial or just aren't bright or even enough. So it is one of the larger accessories. I think it can go up to 2 meters tall, and yes, it's quite bulky, so it's not something that you can take with you everywhere, but if you have a studio setup, something like this, where you are recording vlogs, YouTube videos, or even if you're using it for photography and you just need a bit more light in the room, it's absolutely perfect. The light comes with the 800-watt bulb, which is really bright, which is perfect for lighting up the room. It comes with the stand and reflector, as well as a diffuser, which means that it's not too harsh on your eyes and helps even out the light across the space that you are brightening up. And it comes with a carry case, which it packages away into very nicely. It's perfect for adding extra light to your shots and helps make your videos in particular look very professional. Now, for example, if I just turn it off for a second here, I'll just need to reach over. You'll see that, okay, I have got some decent natural light today, but it doesn't look quite as clear, and I think the camera will be working harder, bumping up the ISO, for example, which will make your shots look more grainy. Since I got this light probably around 8 or 9 months ago now, I use it for every video, and it made me realise what was I doing without one, especially because they are, again, really cheap, low budget options. I was surprised that you can pick up a light that is as professional looking as this for as low as £30, $30. That was around the price when I bought it. Which means that if you're starting to take YouTube a little bit more seriously, or as I said, any type of indoor photography or video recording, it's a really handy accessory to have, which has massively improved the quality of my videos. So next up is the Sony LCS U21B camera bag. And don't Sony love giving their products really complicated names for no reason? Well, they even do it with their camera bags. And this looks a little bit like this. As you can see, it's a fairly compact camera bag, bigger than the really compact bags, but smaller than a backpack or something like that, which I do also use a backpack. But if I'm going to be out and about somewhere where I know that I just want one camera with one lens and maybe a few extra accessories like the mini tripod I talked about before, extra batteries and memory cards, something like that, then this is a perfect low budget, lightweight camera bag which is going to keep your gear safe and secure. This bag is large enough for a mirrorless camera body such as the A6000, A5100 with a decently sized lens. I normally keep the A6000 with the 18-105 zoom lens in there, which you can see is a nice fit, but there's still a little bit of extra space for things like lens caps or whatever accessories you think want to go in there, and is adjustable so that you can snugly fit in whatever camera that you want. Now, it might be slightly too small for DSLR cameras, full frame cameras with large telephoto zoom lenses, but if you're using anything from the Sony Alpha range, it'll fit pretty perfectly. Now, this camera bag only costs around £25, $25, something like that, which makes you think it might be quite cheap and nasty, but I feel like the build quality is pretty strong and it has a surprising amount of padding which makes the camera feel really secure and is perfect for situations such as travel where you're going to need a little bit of extra protection, but you don't necessarily want to take a huge backpack with you with everything, or the other side, you don't just want to take the camera on its own, especially if you're going to be going anywhere that's a little bit more active, outdoor, anything like that. I've been impressed with the small size and the low price point. It's small, easy to carry, and has lots of padding and space for extra accessories, which means that if you're looking for that kind of mid-sized camera bag I would describe it, then it's certainly an option worth considering. Next up is a very small but very useful accessory, well, has been for me, and that is a USB card reader. This tiny little thing is the size of a normal USB storage drive, and it's basically somewhere where you can put in your SD card or micro SD if you have those as well for another device, and you can just plug that directly into your computer to transfer across your video and photo files from your camera without having to plug in the camera. Now, I used to always just plug in the camera and not think much about it, but if I'm using the camera on a tripod, something like this, and I just want to take the card out quickly and transfer files across, then it's much easier using something like this. You just plug in the SD card and, well, plug it into the computer and you're away. I found it a surprisingly useful accessory which I use a lot, and most importantly for me, it's helped improve the speed of my workflow a lot. As you can see, it's tiny and it fits easily in a camera pocket wherever you need to take it, and crucially, it only costs around £5, $5. Now, there's plenty of different varieties of these on the market. This certainly isn't the definitive one to get, but it works perfectly for me, so if you want to get the same one that I've got, I'll leave a link to it in the description. The next accessory is for you if you've ever got dust on your camera lens, or even more frustratingly, on the camera sensor itself, and that is a dust blower, which looks a little bit like this. Essentially, what it does is blow air and dislodges dust from a lens or camera sensor. This is a really handy little thing to have in your camera bag if you're going to be out and about shooting outside in particular, where dust is going to be potentially getting on the camera lens or camera sensor. This certainly happens when you're changing lenses out and about, which just means that you can have a good go of cleaning and dislodging dust without potentially damaging your sensor more by having to touch it or wipe it, which is something that I would only recommend doing if you are very confident in doing. This just gives you a good chance of cleaning things up without having to mess around too much. Now, what's great about these, again, is that it's really cheap. You can pick these up for about £5, $5, perfect, which is basically just using air to dislodge dust. It's an absolute no-brainer for me because inevitably dust does end up getting on your lens and your sensor if you're changing your lenses a lot. Now, it won't clean up all dirt and smears, so if you find yourself in a situation where you need a stronger solution, I've made this video here that explains exactly how to safely clean your camera's sensor. So the last accessory is something that I've spoken about before, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning again, and that is a capture card that looks a little bit something like this. Again, they're around the size of a USB storage drive, but you can use to stream your camera's image to your computer. So this is perfect for things such as video calls, for Zoom, things like that, or live streaming on sites such as Twitch. This is perfect for older cameras such as the Sony a6000, which you can't use the Imaging Edge webcam app for, which is an app which basically allows you to use your camera as a webcam natively just by plugging it directly into your computer. And what's great about capture cards these days is that they used to be very expensive, around £120, $120, something like that. But this one I picked up for about £25, maybe $30, which is perfect because it just means that you can use the extra power of your camera and you can get a 1080p quality image out of it, which is going to be much better than almost all webcams. And it means that you can control your camera as you like and give your shots depth of field or any kind of setting which you're not going to be able to get from a standard webcam. Now, the video quality, whether you're recording or streaming it, isn't going to be quite as good as recording your camera's footage straight to a memory card. It can't transfer the same level of bitrate, but it's still, as I said, very high quality, and I've been very impressed with it, and it looks really great on video calls for work and things like that. I've made an in-depth video on how to set up and use this capture card, so if you want to check that out, that will be in the description below. So there's a few extremely useful and low-budget accessories that I use a lot on my mirrorless cameras. As I mentioned earlier, Amazon links to all the products will be in the description below. But if you've enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like on the video. And if you want to check out any of my photography, you can find it on Instagram at aaron.prescott. But that's it from me for now. Until next time, see ya.